Oh man, I just hate it when a decent trans VTuber ends up just announcing themselves as a fucking humongous cunt to a large percentage of their audience just because they want to own a single fucking grifter. They like you do know that this is an L for you, like, and it's not even fucking close, right? So this nyaraVT is kink shaming lolicons because I have no idea. Like, she wants to own Rev Says Des, and instead of just focusing on the actual facts, like that he's a fucking transphobic grifter and a massive piece of shit, instead of that, she tries to dunk on what, well, I'm just going to be honest, consisting of a large portion of her own fan base. She is filtering, right? But she is filtering a large and massive part of her own audience, which is never a smart thing to do, and it's also kind of shows that you're just a bully and there's no reason to ever respect bullies. Right. A good way to say it, right, is like this comment I made, right? Just don't kink shame and stop being a Karen, right? But then, like this person um, tries to pretend that's not a person. Like, you can actually look at this as a bot, right? Look at that, a bot. So a literal bot replies to me. I don't think like that's a good like a good sign when a lot of the people defending you are not necessarily even people, right? A lot of them are. You'd be surprised. This is kind of the sad reality of it with the people like this. A lot of them are um Rory, that like your fucking name implies you are. But yeah. Well, that's why he says except for lolicon, right? Because he knows anything that is quote woke will be shit on, so he is adamant that lolicon isn't woke, right? Because that's one thing. Like, he knows he can set a core like standard, right? Of this will be where my line is in the sand, right? Let's see what the bot commented, right? Something about how fetish porn, um, like rape and stuff in a work of fiction, is different than liking pineapples on pizza. You're right, but like, because pineapple on pizza is a real thing, also delicious. Like, but like that, like, the thing is, the reason why people are adamant against pineapple on pizza actually has more to do with cultural stuff than it does with anything else. Like, it actually is cultural appropriation to put pineapple on pizza. Now, what it really comes down to is I don't fucking give a shit, because that was always a dumb thing. But but like, that's really like why that exists, right? Is to dunk on the cultural appropriation people by saying that they're going to put pineapple on pizza, right? Um, or that they're quote pretending to be upset at pineapple on pizza. Both of those are making fun of cultural appropriation, because that's literally cultural appropriation. People just find it funny when you actually like boil it down to what ultimately it becomes, right? So yeah, changing the food of another culture is cultural appropriation. Like that's actually what it is. Like participating in it as it is cultural appreciation. Changing the culture and then saying that's what it is cultural appropriation. There's two different things, right? The entire problem with cultural appropriation is that you try to change the values of another culture, right? So really, like I'm an anime fan, but I hate lolicon is also a form of cultural appropriation, right? Because that's really what it is. It's going into a culture and then trying to change that. That's what the word actually means. So yeah, this is cultural appropriation. This is people liking weird porn. Now, like people liking weird porn is weird, but like you can call lolicon weird, and I will have no problem with it. It's the accusing people of a crime part, and then we have this. She has never said anything about liking a certain anime or VTuber. That's no, that's exactly what she said. And no, lolicons do not have a problem defending pedos in their community. If they did, then why haven't they done it yet, right? Like if you call them all pedos, then yeah, but like they're not all pedos. So like that's why you have that issue, right? Like they're not defending pedos; they're defending non-pedos against false allegations. Yeah, absolutely. Wait, are you on the side of Orion? Like, hey, Quite, why are you defending a pedophile? I mean, I know the person being accused of being a pedophile is you, and these allegations are completely made up. But why are you defending a pedophile, Quite? Did you know that you are defending Quite an accused pedophile, Quite? See, this is like the real issue with this bullshit, right? People accuse people of things inherently falsely, and then act as if people getting mad at the false accusations are a sign of anything. Like I said, people have tried to do this with Nyara. You would think that Nyara would realize that, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do the exact same shit they did to me, and try to demonize other people with the same shit that, including my own fan base, with the same shit that they try to demonize me with, right? This is why you stop fucking around with this bullshit. Instead of kink shaming, fuck off. These are your fans. You know it. Stop trying to filter your own fan base and then getting mad that half your fucking audience leaves. No, fuck you. Stop being a retard. I'm not gonna even fucking be nice about this anymore, Nyara. You're a fucking retard. You need to stop fucking being a retard. Grow some fucking brain cells in your fucking goddamn life, okay? Like grow a spine and grow some fucking brain cells, okay? That's what it is, okay? If you don't like that some of your audience likes something that you don't, fuck you. Okay, like they're going to. They might not be your audience anymore if you make a fuss out of it, but they're going to like those things whether you want them to or not. Just like you are, right? You're still going to like your trans stuff, and you should. But that's the point I'm trying to make. You should be adamant in defending your side, not attacking theirs, because you are not at the advantage here. You do not have the cards. Stop. Okay? Like ultimately stop. I'm talking like Trump. Yeah, you do not have the cards here. Stop. You are not going to win. You are going to fail. Stop ruining your own fucking life and embrace what you have, because the more you fucking do this, the more people will hate you, and the more people hate you, the worse and worse it's get, because eventually you will crash out like everyone does who makes it living online. And if you've done this before you crashed out, you will have no one to turn to. You're going to eventually crash out. Everyone who makes a living online does. Everyone knows this. Please just stop fucking your own life over, because your future, 10, 15 years, you're going to regret this. Don't. Okay? Everyone knows about the whole 10 to 15 year social media crash outs, by the way. Like, it happens to it happened to PewDiePie, it happened to Mr. fucking Beast, it's happening to Critical and Mudahar right now. Like, you guys are acting like this, like you can just avoid that. No, it will happen. The thing is, you will need a actual, like, stable fan base to do it. If everyone who is in your fan base is just as poor and crashed out as you when you need it, they won't be able to help you. Okay? So do not. All right. And yeah, so yeah, this is what I'm saying. You don't have a large amount of evidence. You are talking about Shadman, who is a guy who assaulted someone and did drugs, and did some bullshit with Keemstar's daughter, that was called out by the Lolicon community for that, but otherwise has done nothing. Right? The only crime Shadman ever did, really, was hit someone with his fists. That's not like what you think it is. Assaulting someone with your fist in their face, right, because they're annoying you and you're a fucking drug addict, is not pedophilia. It's a crime, absolutely, but it's not pedophilia. I'm just gonna say that it's not pedophilia. His crime was punching someone really hard in their fucking jaw while high off heroin. Okay. Let's stick with the facts here. She literally didn't do anything like that or wrong here. She just said in her community, and the people she once replied to her shouldn't defend Lolly or say that she should get down on her knees. No, that's not what she said. Okay. Like, she is demonized. Like, yeah, I get it. She's filtering, right? But the problem is, who is she filtering out, right? Now, this is the funny thing. Like, this person is just being a gaslighting manipulator on me, and pretending like I made anything up. But here's the thing, right? People have said this to me a lot, right? I am a person who is known to have a lot of people who keep telling me this, and I will not ever listen, for the very purpose of the people I hate are bullies, right? The difference is, right, I have a large amount of friends who are ride or dies now because I said no, right? And this might happen to her, right? But the thing is, she needs the spine for that, right? I don't think she does if this is the content she's going to make, right? This is really what it comes down to. You need the spine, and you need your audience to have the spine, right? Yeah, like these guys just don't really fucking actually care about what they're really talking about. And the funny thing is, pedophilia rates have gone down steadily since like the 50s, right? Like, people are like, wait, the 50s, right? Wasn't it really high until the... Yeah, guess what? It used to be the normal, right? Before Lolly Show anime, did you know that people used to molest children and marry them? And that was, like, just normal? Like, that was just, like, what everyone did prior to the 50s. That's how life worked, right? Before all this, right? So... Let's say lolicons are pedophiles, right? It would still, right? It would still mean that their pedophilia is now escaped from reality. So now, instead of doing what used to happen in the 50s, in prior, right? For thousands of years, humanity used to be purely pedophilic, right? And it just was normal. Yeah, you raped her, you get to be her husband now. Okay? That used to be, just so we're clear, that used to be how people got laid. We've demonized that because it was bad. It was abusive and disgusting and wrong. But notice, right? You're trying to go after the solution to that at this point. A large amount of lolicons, maybe they are. But guess what? They're also preventing it from happening IRL. And guess what? If Astro Boy fucking a kid robot on screen made people fuck actual kids less, power to it. Because you know what? If that's actually how it worked, I'll be damned. I want that then, right? There are two possibilities here. Either it's because or despite. Because would mean that pedophilia rates have gone down and anti-pedophilia culture has increased regardless of it happening, right? So no one really cared. Like, lolicon didn't really normalize anything, and it can't normalize anything because it has existed pretty much since the spiral downward of liking pedophilia. So it doesn't normalize pedophilia because pedophilia rates keep going down despite it increasing, right? Now, the other hand, right, is because, right, that pedophilia rates only went down because of lolicon. And these are the two possibilities here, because pedophilia rates went down massively since the introduction of lolicon, and they keep going down. It used to be 1 in 2, right? Now it's 1 in 25. It's still fucking bad, but it used to be far, far worse. And this is why I don't like these fucking kind of cunts, right? They are so self-righteous in their own fucking dogma and dogmatic bullshit that they will accuse people who really prove their own fucking point before you ever even fucking opened your lips. Okay? Stop ruining your own fucking life for this petty bullshit. You're trying to bully people who have proven they will not be bullied. Don't. You're picking fights where you won't win. Okay? This is an unwinnable battle for you. Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. You don't own VTubing. You don't own me. You don't put me in my place.
I'm gonna assume that in a couple of months that attitude will change.
I messed up. I kind of messed up. In what way? So, you know how I had 1.1 million impressions in the last 7 days? Most of these impressions were from yesterday. A lot of people saw my stuff. A lot of bad people saw my stuff. This is going to be a really difficult topic to talk about. I'm just going to give you the backstory of what happened. But just so you know, this is probably going to be the hardest segment I've ever had.
Have you noticed that all this is just drama too?
Thinking of just moving on, ignoring it, but I don't think I can. And I think by talking about it, probably turning it into a video, I might be making...
There's plenty of trans VTubers I enjoy that are just pro-trans and that's it, right? Like Yuki is pretty much just pro-trans content. That's what I want, right? This whole political debate sphere doesn't really do anything good for the trans community. Anyway, to be fair, I don't really even know why I fucking follow these kinds of assholes, but also, yeah, it just kind of ruins the mojo of the trans movement anyway, right? I want to feel positive emotions, right? We're going through that kind of thing where reality is people fucking despise us for being ourselves, right? Now, a large portion of that, I'm gonna be honest, is these fucking douchebag debate bros who harass people in their own fucking sphere because of minor disagreements. Like, I'll show you like what I mean right here.
On March 1st, where I saw a tweet.
But like, so yeah, obviously Rev, no one really likes Rev, let's face it. But you'll see what I mean right here.
An example of looking too deep into things, which is a video from Rev whining because Dragon Age failed because it's woke and haha owned you. If you look to the right, you'll see something that makes you say that's rich of Rev to talk about egos, considering that his is giant. Recent trash taste, drama, and whatnot.
I will say this, yeah, going after Asmongold and Rev at the same time isn't really the power move you think it is. Now, to be fair, Hassan and Rev and Asmongold all are shitty people, right?
Backlash has broken us on Pika. I was like, okay. I replied with, I've never seen a bigger loser in the VTuber community than Rev. He only became a right-wing anti-woke grifter because he...
Honestly, I feel like being on Twitter is like honestly like the most I need to know here, to be honest. But like I am on Blue Sky and I am loving it. I fucking left Twitter because it's just a bunch of bots and grifters anyway, right? Like the funny is most of the lolicons are like the only fucking real people there anymore, right? Like you have VTubers, lolicons, and a couple furries, and that's the entire actual people there, right? Everyone else is either a grifter or a bot. Like, there's no genuine people on Twitter anymore, besides fucking lolicons. Like, this is the thing, right? So, the little Ari talks, like, kind of just wants, like, some affirmations from Nyara, and instead of actually like supporting that mindset at all, Nyara goes to bully someone who is probably her own audience member. And yeah, this is like what I mean, by the way, when I say you know, like this is what I mean, by the way, when I say this is kind of like a dog shit take. Like, you are literally fighting a fan who looks up to you, saying you are a piece of shit for doing something that I don't like. Get the fuck out of my fan base, you fucking degenerate whore. Right? That's what you're telling them. So this is a person who is like they're lost and they're looking for someone to affirm them. And your response is, fuck you, get the fuck out of my sight, effectively. This is how I know you are just a fucking pathetic piece of shit. You could have just not done this, right? And you would have been fine with me. This is the sad reality of people who do this. You fucking attack your own audience, who is a person who literally is just looking for some affirmations in their own fucking life. Something that you also do, right? They're doing it a little further because they're lolicon and trans. They love and they want like more trans lolly friends. And instead of saying, okay, look, we can disagree on the lolicon, but you know, I'm here for you. You said, stop sexualizing prepubescent children altogether. You accuse this audience member of yours of a criminal action because they were looking to you for support. And you don't see how that's literally what people have done to you. This is literally pathetic. This is why, like, I don't even really care when trans VTubers get accused of this shit anymore, because they do it to themselves, effectively, right? You are doing this to a fucking, like, this person probably just, like, donates to your super chats occasionally before, right? And now you're telling them, fuck you, get the fuck out of my sight. You know, maybe they will. And, like, yeah, that's not going to be good for you, okay? I fight for trans rights, actually. So, I think Ari wants to fight for trans rights. You're saying that Ari doesn't deserve trans rights because Ari actually, Ari, who, just so you know, what they mean here, as a person who is also a victim of child molestation, I can attest to this. They're a victim of sex abuse, right? IRL. And they cope with lolicon. And you're telling them that that's wrong. That's wrong to have a coping mechanism.
Fiction! There's nothing wrong with exploring dark subjects in fiction, especially for those coping with trauma. And I said, holy fox, yes, there's a lot of things wrong with sexualizing children, even if it is fiction. Go fox yourself if you think otherwise.
You don't. This is honestly disgusting at that point, right? So a person who is a victim of sexual abuse, right, is looking at you, right, because they like that you're a trans VTuber. They want support from you, and this is your response. So a person who is lost and looking for support is asking you for any bit of kindness, and this is your heart. This is what I'm saying. Don't fucking do this shit. It's bullying. It's the same bullying you suffered from. I don't fucking like it when you suffered from it. But at this point, am I supposed to care? They're just bullying a bully then at this point. If Rev is bullying you, now he's bullying a bully. Before, he was bullying a victim. Now, he's bullying a bully. And now, am I supposed to really care if a bully gets bullied? I'll be honest, not really. Stop being a bully. Stop bullying people. That should honestly be the token response to this. Stop bullying people who need your help because you don't like something about their fucking fetishes or whatever, right? If they are not harming actual people, it does not fucking matter. You are just bullying people you think are too weird for you. And then getting mad that people bully you for being a weirdo. Yes, you are going to get the exact same shit back. And this time, a lot of the audience members who depended on you will have had their hearts hardened against you. Stop doing this shit. This is honestly the most disgusting fucking bullying tactic I've ever fucking seen. And it's always a trans fucking VTuber for some fucking reason. Not all trans VTubers. I've watched plenty that don't. But it's always a trans VTuber who tries this bullshit and somehow thinks that the result is ever going to be different. It's not. Stop fucking doing it. You are insane. That is literally what insanity is. You are doing the exact same shit expecting a different result. This is going to end poorly for you. You know it. You've seen it happen. Stop this. This is not helping anyone, but this is harming yourself. And you know what? It's also harming the trans community itself, too. Because now people look at you, oh, you're a big face of the trans community. Well, you bully your own audience because they want to look up to you. But you don't like you don't like the cartoons they watch. So fuck them, right? No. Stop this shit. You know what you should do? You should apologize for being a bully. Because you know what? That's the only way this will ever turn out nice for you later on. I know how this ends, and I don't want this to end that way for you, because I do respect you. The Rev Says Desu and all them crowd will not ever, right? They're not going to. And part of the reason is they're going to use the fact that you bully other people anyway, right? They're going to do that to bully other people. So instead of continuing the cycle, stop it. Right? If you want to be a big VTuber that is pro-trans, why don't you just be pro-lolly too? Because guess what? That's the only way that you're going to ever make shit happen for the trans community. I'm honestly getting sick, literally, from this shit.
I didn't
God damn.
realize how controversial this is.
And the thing is, like, I am massively against the anti-woke crowd. Like, I've made a lot of videos on Grums and a lot of videos on Synthetic Man and all that shit, right? You know, like, yes, I have an extremely edgy fucking way of going about attacking those anti-woke pieces of shit. But I do attack them. And I loathe people who bully others, right? This is why I'm saying don't become the same bully that you fucking hate. Because guess what? That doesn't work. Because your audience is going to see that you're a bully too.
To make something really clear, I know that there's a lot of people who enjoy lolly content who do not sexualize children. I just want this to be clear. Like, the end here was not...
You can say that and all you want. Look, the vast majority of people who sexualize underage characters from anime are children. Right? Like, the vast majority of people who do the sexualization of minors of minor anime characters are kids when they do it, right? It's the same thing with like cartoon characters. Anyone who does that with minors tends to be someone who is already a kid when they started doing it. Everyone knows this. I don't know why you're pretending otherwise. It's never been adults start that shit. It's always kids start doing this shit because it's a coping mechanism. Because a lot of kids, while not sexually abused anymore, are still abused by their parents. And this is a way of coping with it. And anyone, especially a trans person who probably was abused, I'm just saying, I know I was. I know many people, including the people you're arguing with, were. So I don't know. I'm gonna guess it's probably likely that you were too. Well, let's say it wasn't, right? Let's say it wasn't. Let's say you're one of the few that is lucky. Now you're trashing the unlucky ones. See, no matter what, you just look like a bully here. Stop trying to do that. It's disgusting and it doesn't work out for you. And it just pisses your own audience off, especially people who might actually need your help.
Accident. But a lot of people seem to ignore that part and twist it in the way to say that, like, hey,
no, people just are tired of seeing that shit and know what you're fucking doing.
That lolly stuff is just as bad as the real thing. No, I'm not. They also were like, oh, you're calling all lolly PDF files or whatnot. Like, no, I'm not doing that. I know for a fact that there are a lot of people who use this label who do sexualization of children. And I think it's on a similar level of, like, if I call someone a furry, I'm not implying that they are super, but there are a lot of supers who take the label furry for themselves. And I know
not really. There are zoophiles in the fandom, absolutely, right? But the other thing is zoophilia or like feral, right? Yeah, that's another thing. Where are we going with this, right? Is it zoophilic when someone creates feral artwork, or is it zoophilic when someone lusts over an actual animal, right? Is Bunsen Dragon a zoophile for having a feral dragon persona that is involved in vor and porn art, or do they actually have to want to fuck dogs and cats and stuff, right? Is the standard Mr. Horse, or is the standard Bunsen the Dragon, right? Is the standard Mr. Horse, or is the standard Bunsen the Dragon, right? Because this is basically, if it's Bunsen the Dragon, then you're kind of a fucking cunt, right? If it's Mr. Horse here, then why is it not fucking Harvey Weinstein IRL, right? You know, like, because here's the thing, right? We got Dan Schneider and Harvey Weinstein on the IRL pedophiles, route, right? And then we've got Oda, the guy who made One Piece, does some lolly stuff, right? So we've got Like those are the two people we have, right? We have Dan Schneider on the IRL, the Mr. Horse side, and then we've got Akira Toriyama. Yes, Akira Toriyama on the Lolicon side. Now, is Akira Toriyama equivalent to... Yeah, is Akira Toriyama equivalent to Dan Schneider as a monster against children to you? Right? Is Akira Toriyama just Jared Fogle in disguise to you? Is he? Or are you fucking full of shit? Because that's what it comes down to, right? And if we apply the same standards to furries, is Bunsen the same way? Stop with this bullshit, because you know that the only way to adequately describe your argument is to hate millions of people that you like purely for some internet clout. Stop it.
Furry community tries really hard to gatekeep that label and push these people out because they are not welcome in that space.
Well, yeah, after Kiwi Farms exposed Kira the Wolf, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like, everyone fucking hates that shit. Also, what's funny is, wasn't he also, like, a Nazi anyway, and wasn't really welcome at cons for that before? Well, like, most of the, like, actual dog fuckers were Nazis. Like, you can look at Kiwi Farms, like, they literally show that most of the people who are zoo sadists on their page are right. Like, you have Jason Effects, you have Kiro, you have Diesel Raccoon. I mean, he's more of a pedophile than a zoophile, but still, right? The vast majority of people who... Head to Test Sappho is also alt-right, right? Like, the vast majority of the people who are, actually pedophiles or actually zoophiles in the furry fandom are also kind of just... also Nazis, right? Like, the craziest thing, like most of the left furs do is, like, you get, like, an article on, like, Blue Wolf, and it's like, well, they have a scat fetish and they stole money from people, right? So, like, Kiwi Farms is a shitty site for shitty people, because it's just laughing at shitty people, but, like, they are unrepentant in the way they do it. And they sadly caused the death of a trans person who they have finally fucking admitted to, right? But that's the thing, right? Now, a lot of the things they say are still correct, though, right? Like, Keflos was a piece of shit. Every single thing that, like, you remember, every single thing, she was like, well, that's just what Kiwi Farm said. Like, she would always say that. Yeah, they did say that. The reason they said it is because she said it. They're an archive of what you say and do, right? So if you say it and do it, they will make fun of you for it. Yes, and they're ruthless pieces of shit who don't really want any nuance on a lot of topics, right? They're also against the lolicon community, but they keep doing, like, the same shit that you're doing as well, right? Which is another fun little thing, right? This person called me conservative, right? But conservatives on Kiwi Farms are doing the same tactic that you're doing. I know because I go there, because I want to see what, like, they're up to and, like, who... Like, because sometimes there is, like, legitimately shitty people to avoid. Another thing is they have actually started shitting on Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is a fucking way too nutcase for even them. Right? To be fair, a lot of right-wing people are, like, Quartering's a lolcow on there, Razor Fists. Literally, the Razor Fist grooming allegations were on there for 3 fucking years now. And people are just, like, pulling them out because Razor Fist got a bit of a controversy with the anti-SJW crowd he stands with, right? Like, literally, a lot of the whole, like, these people are outed as pests things is like, oh, you guys denied Kiwi Farms for, like, 3 years because it was on Kiwi Farms, but then suddenly Mudahar and Willie Mack Show cover Kiwi Farms articles. And it's okay because, like, the things on Kiwi Farms were true, right? About Keffels, about Razor Fist, about Grums, about quartering about Elon Musk, all of it, all of the shitty things they say about all the locals, left and right, tends to be true, right? Now, with Blue Wolf, I can say, well, okay, they stole money and are kind of shitty, but have weird fetishes that I don't really care about, but ultimately, who cares, right? And that's the other thing about it, right? If they didn't do anything wrong, you can just say, who cares? They just, or if it's like they did something wrong, but and that shitty thing that they did is still shitty, but you can kind of forgive them. Like, okay, yeah, they stole money. Like, if they pay it back and stuff, that's fine, right? And that's ultimately, right, the thing that you have to deal with too, right? Like, you can look at Kiwi Farms, it is objective, but is that necessarily bad, right? There's plenty of people who are on there that didn't do bad things, or they did one bad thing that isn't even that bad, that they just make fun of endlessly, right? But ultimately, the vast majority of people on there, no one really cares if they're on Kiwi Farms, because of that, right? So really, I don't really see the entire point here, right? You're just harassing your own audience for brownie points with people who don't even watch you. I don't get that part either, You're attacking your own audience too, and some of them might be in your audience that you're gaining, but most of them are not. And that's really the thing, right? If you have to change who your audience is because that your content brings in, do you think maybe the content just is what brings those people in, right? You're making content that trans lolicons love, then you're saying fuck you, trans lolicons, get the fuck out of my community. Do you not see the issue with that?
Community do any sort of thing like that. They rather go after people who call it out. They call us tourists, antis, or whatnot, and make us out to be oh, we are the.
Well, yeah, that you are a tourist, though, right? I mean, most people are. Tourism means that you don't actually respect the culture that you're there for. You're just there to visit and appreciate it, right? Yeah. If you're shitting on other cultures, that is kind of pretty shitty. Tourism means you're not. So tourism means that you are not active in the culture, right? What that means is you're not creating the culture. You are consuming the culture, right? You are consuming the product, and then you are trying to change the product. Now, the only real legit way to change the product is to make the product, right? So if you're saying you want to change anime, well, make some anime then, right? Do it, right? But if you don't, shut up. I don't know. I'm trying to do some Oddworld lines. I fucking love the fucking hello, follow me. I don't know if anyone played Oddworld as a kid. It's fucking amazing games. Obviously the Soulborn upgrade for 2 is amazing as well. I don't think New and Tasty is really any really much of it. It's a bigger version of the game you already played, but because of how it becomes bigger, it also just kind of ends up being hey, we have more Mudokons in the areas that used to have whereas before they had 3 here, now they have 20 here. So it's it's the same, really the same amount of content. You just have more Mudokons you have to save in the puzzles, which is kind of and the cutscenes are all the same. Which, to be fair, with Soulsborne kind of ruins it a bit because don't they kill Moloch in New and Tasty still? But they did in the original. But now he's alive somehow in the second game's remake of Soulsborne. Which also is another thing. Like Soulsborne isn't really the second game either. Like Soulsborne is a spin-off of the first game, right? Like, because remember, it goes Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey is the first game, and then Abe's Exodus is the spin-off of the first game, and then Munch's Odyssey is the second game, right? And then Stranger's Wrath is a spin-off of the third game, which is weird because the third game never fucking came out. It's weird because they were supposed to be a quintology, and now it's like they got 4 games, and they're only 2 of them are part of that. It's super weird and wild to me, you know. I do love the games, but like it's wild how they set it up like that.
With one video that I posted where I made a really bad thumbnail that I've addressed a couple of times that has been since changed. Being like, oh, you're a groomer because I made a post being like, trans people will never leave kids alone. We want trans kids to be.
Yeah, like PDA foot is actually like good, but like here, right? But like if you noticed, right? I don't really like the thing is, right? I have a problem with this, right? But like I do have a problem with HRT and puberty blockers given the minors, to be fair. But I have a problem with if people should not be like taught to be transphobic as a kid. That's just dumb, right? And of course, you know, maybe some people who are trans will end up transitioning and being happy when they're older. Yeah, absolutely. If we're not transphobic, just like if we're not homophobic, maybe more gay people will come out and be happy because hey, they were already gay, but now they're just happier about it, right? But yeah, like I get that, right? But like I think like they do talk about like purity blockers and shit. It's like no, just stop with the fucking drug use, you know? Well, like that's my thing. Like, just stop with the drugs, and I'm fine. Like, there are people who absolutely will take it further than that. I am 100%. Just don't give the kids the drugs, you know. And I'm fine with that because they don't need them, right? They don't really need the puberty blockers. Those aren't even meant for them. They're meant for precocious puberty, which is a very extremely rare genetic condition that hardly anyone gets, right? And they were the reason they're used on quote trans kids specifically is because the drug companies want to make money. It's literally no other reason. They're not for that, and they're not really helpful for anything that a trans kid would really benefit from. Because you benefit from the transition, you don't really benefit from not having puberty, right? I'm just being honest. Yeah, the HRT takes longer if you've already had puberty, but not really that much longer. And like I've seen people who did it as adults, it takes 2 years. That's not that long. You know, like guess what? If you start at 16, you're 18 when you finish it, right? Right? Because you can start at 18 in most places. So 16 you start it, and then 18 you're able to make your own decisions. So and like have surgeries and stuff if you want. I think that's kind of fine. Like I think that's standard. I know like Trump seems to want to change it to 18 and then you'd have to do it at 20, which I think is dumb. Like, you know, like HRT, like 16, like actually no, I don't necessarily think it's dumb, but I think it's dumb if you have the age of consent be 16, right? HRT should be age of consent, and then, you know, so if it's 16 in your state, it should be 16 for HRT, right? But otherwise, like, you know, I don't think puberty blockers should be a thing. And I think HRT should start at whatever the legal age of consent is for the state, right? I think that's a fair assessment to make, right? Like if you're 16 is your age of consent, then you can do it at 16. If it's not till 18, then you have to wait till 18. I think that's perfectly fair, honestly.
In the video, I talk about my journey as a trans person who was a trans kid without any education, and how big of a struggle it was without representation, and why trans people.
Also, yeah, J.K. Rowling is full of shit too. Like, Like the thing is, like everyone's like, oh, what Nazi post? Like she literally denies the fucking Holocaust. It's the most disgusting shit ever, right? Like, and really what it is Twitter capture. Like I don't think she actually would have thought like that if she wasn't addicted to Twitter, like she clearly is, right? And what's weird is like this is being like driven by Jesse Signal and Glinner and Elon Musk, right? Three people who have all had women leave them because of their fetishes for trans people, right? Glinner, Glinner, Jesse Signal, and Elon Musk all had their wives leave them because they were obsessed with fapping to chicks with dicks. Just so you know. That is the funniest bit about this, right? She is saying, "Oh, I'm doing this for women," and then really, she's doing this for men who are bitter that their wives left them because they couldn't stop fapping a girl dick. That's actually what it is about, and people don't want to keep pointing that out. But I refuse to stop because that is the funniest part about it to me, right? Like the fact of the matter is, one of my favorite authors when I was a kid, who was a great feminist icon for me when I was a kid, threw it all away to harass me effectively and my people because we were mad at her for siding with abusive men who already don't give a fuck about trans people, and the only reason they pretend to is because their wives left them because they couldn't stop fapping to us. See, while you talk about this lolicon shit, I'm talking about the real matters. Why this fucking piece of shit abandoned everything she stood for to attack to appease people who are only even mad at trans people because their wives left them over their fetishization of us. Like, you know, I am mad at her, but I'm not mad at her for just for being transphobic. I'm mad at her for changing for a man who doesn't even respect her. Okay? Like, she has thrown away everything she stood for, every single part of her ideology that she fought for back when, back in the day, just to appease abusive men whose wives left them over the fact that they couldn't stop fapping at girls with dicks. Okay? I know the actual thing to get mad at her about. That's the thing. I guess a lot of people don't. But yeah.
About the next generation of trans people. I changed the thumbnail.
And like what I mean by Darvo, like abusive, the Jesse Signal is a Darvo, right? Like, so he's a guy that abuses people and then denies that he abused them. Like Jesse Signal is actually like verbatim quotes Darvo, like the methodology of Darvo, constantly when like he talks to people who accuse him of things, right? Because he's an abusive piece of shit, right? Like, so when I say abusive, I don't mean like necessarily like to kids, right? I think Jesse Signal has only ever abused adults, right? But Jesse Signal is very much abusive to women like J.K. Rowling. You know, like a lot of them were also authors. So yeah, that's kind of like the point I want to make. She is submitting to her abuser to make fun of trans people online because the piece of shit that abused her and many other women wants her to do that because he's mad that his wife left him over his addiction to tranny cock. Okay, like. I don't have to spin anything past that to hate her. I can just say you gave it up. You gave up everything that you stood for to appease a bully who abused you too. Right?
It was too in line with their talking points, and obviously these people don't care because like their problem is that like I'm even
Yeah, like this honestly pisses me off with J.K. Rowling, right?
that trans kids exist because these people think that like giving trans.
Oh yeah. People hate the idea that trans kids exist because like now for me, I don't think like so for me like I feel like you can't really tell necessarily, right? Because you can't, right? Like kids are still kids. Like there are plenty of cis people who wore dresses as a kid because they were just curious or they thought it was silly or whatever, right? I mean, kids play pretend all the time, right? But once it gets to, like, it's been going on for several years and they're still doing it, they're trans, right? But if they do it, like, once when they're 4, yeah, it's just, like, a little silly thing, right? And the thing is, like, there are parents who abuse their kids over that, and that actually kind of, like, makes it, like, first, it kind of guarantees that they'll either be trans or just hate you. So, like, they, like, never fucking abuse kids just because they did something that society thinks is feminine. And secondly, you know, they might just wear the dress once, right? And secondly, even if they do, like, even if it is, like, they're an effeminate kid, right? Here's what I'd say, right? If your son is effeminate, they're just effeminate, right? And maybe they'll even identify as a girl. Maybe they'll just be a femboy. Who cares, right? Who the fuck cares, right? Because ultimately, that standard is put on by a society that, like, allows shit like Jesse Signal to do the shit he does. You know, like ultimately, like, my thing is, right, like, people are like, oh, transgender shit. Like, I'm a gender abolitionist, right? I don't care if you're a girl or a guy, I don't care what you identify as, right? I don't care what you dress like. You do you, right? Like, and I will try to respect whatever you identify as, because that's what matters to me. Respecting people should always be a kind of a thing, right? You should, like, unless someone is clearly trolling. There are some people who like pretend to be like to troll, you know, obviously, like, but unless someone is clearly just trolling, and, like, you know, maybe it's not as obvious, maybe you think they are and they're not, you get the idea, right? But unless you think that person is legit just trolling you, you should always kind of just respect what they wish, right? Honestly, even then, because then it's like, hey, they're trolling you by saying that they, like, identify as this, like, like, abhorrent thing, and then you're like, okay, you're an important thing then. Right? I will respect that you want to be called an abhorrent thing. Right?
Children education on trans topics turns them trans, and other ways that it would just be normal. I have a lot of people who were coming at me being transphobic. I also have a lot of people being like, oh, Lons own the VTuber community, and
Well, not really, obviously, but that's also not necessarily what they're saying. Although, to be fair, I don't really. I feel like most people watch far more than Naruto, One Piece, and Dragon Ball. Like this would be a tourist, but, like, most people they call tourists watch far more than, like they're, like, at least, like, there was one group of people who put on Full Metal Alchemist, and I'm like, okay, if you put on Full Metal Alchemist, that person isn't a tourist. Yes, it is the greatest anime of all time, I know, but it's not just like it's the greatest anime of all time, but, like, not normies don't watch it, right? Like, normies don't fucking watch Full Metal Alchemist, like. But it is absolutely the greatest anime of all time. It isn't a tourist anime at the same time. I know it's weird, but that's the thing, right? I feel like a lot of people also, like, you know, do watch some slice of life stuff and all that too, right? Now, like, I watch some of the more, like, uncommon shit. Like, I've watched obviously a bit of you know, some of the more, like, Gunnar Isekai, right? Like a good one that I like is, like, the Dragon Vor one, like, where it's just, like, the plane shit and all that, right? Another one I like, I'll be honest, like, it's gonna be a lot of Dragon and Vor ones. I like that one where, like, there's a dragon that tries to buy a house. That was super cute. And then like, the other one, you know, that time I got reincarnated as slime, which is literally just, like, the author's the author's expertly advertised fetish, and the fetish is just vor, right? The entire anime is just a vor fetish novel. But yeah, wouldn't this be a Shotokan? This one, but yeah, like they are right though. That's the thing, right? All of these are lolicons. And like one of the biggest songs even is Lolicami Requiem, right? And even like most of these are trans friendly. Like Bao is a furry even, right? So like you've got plenty of trans and furry VTubers, or at least trans friendly and furry friendly VTubers, right? Who are all lolicons, right? Like just stop this, because like this is not exactly good for thing, right? Like that's the thing. Like a good way to say it, right? If the road you traveled has led you to this, of what use was the rule, right? It is the quote by the serial killer from the serial killer #1 psychopath in portrayal in media fiction, Anton Chigurh. Like, yes, he is the villain, but he's also right there, right? Like the whole thing about like him being the villain isn't that he's wrong, it's that he's just an evil fucking piece of shit, right? He is an unrepentant psychopath, but he is also right there, right? Like if your morality leads you to like your own suffering, what was the point? Right? Like what was the point of doing things that do nothing but end in your own suffering and do not help anyone, right? That's what I'm getting at, right? Like it's not that I don't think that these opinions are okay to have. My thing is constantly like this is the hill you're dying on when it doesn't do you any good, and in fact does you and your audience harm, isn't okay, right? Like at the end of the day, if it's just going to cause harm, stop doing it. Like to you and your friends, stop doing it. But yeah, I don't think anyone really thinks this one. The thing is, fan service is more than sex. I hate the idea that fan service is just big booba and big juicy ass cheeks, right? No. Like the biggest fan service is Capcom games. Look, like play. You want to know my favorite fan service in video games ever? I always like to bring this one up because like I can debunk this one absolutely. Barry Burton, right, in Resident Evil Revelations 2, right? Like everyone they know, right? Like the final boss, you have to like do some shit to get to the their actual final boss, right? As Claire and Moira. But if you do that and then you go back as Barry Burton in his final boss, what'll happen is Barry will once he defeats his first final boss, he'll get a second one, right? He only gets it if you shoot Neil as Moira in Claire's campaign. Anyway, you do that, and there's a little scene where like Moira starts to like open up to her father and stuff after she saved him, because she had to actually learn to use guns and stuff to do that. But anyway, she asked him if he'll need her help, and he just fucking like gets out like looking like a motherfucker, like an absolute badass, saying, "Always need you, but for now, I have this." It's like the same like callback to the original game where he said, "I have this." Like it was like more happy, obviously back then, instead of like angry and gruff. But like it's super like awesome, like that they kept it in. And the way they kept it in too, like it involved family, right? Like he's like, "I'll always need you because you're my family, but for now, I have this." And he brings out his cold anaconda, and like, yeah, I fucking love that, you know. That's fan service to me, right? Now, fan service can be hot chicks, but if the like thing relies on it. Like gotcha fan service is hot chicks, right? But like because there's not really much lore, so you're doing hot chicks for the fan. Like a good way to say it, Lyocon is fan service, furry fan service in Zenless Zone Zero. Absolutely. Same with Purrit, right? But like in like Barra for like the bear guy, right? I forget his name. I haven't really played that much of it, but I have played like to unlock a couple new characters. I need to play it more though, right? The thing is, like those games, it's like I'll either get sucked into it, or and that's the thing. Like I have a lot of games I like to play, and the problem with like gacha is like they take so much out of you to really get because they're just so fucking massive.
And actually, like the top biggest VTubers are lots, and they are appealing to these things because that's just anime, which is like no, actually, like this is actually like a really small part, and I kind of hate how normalized it is. Like I don't know if you want your little sister wipe, it should be pretty clear that I'm not talking about people who think that way. I'm talking.
I disagree. You are, and it's pretty retarded to like a pretty retarded point of doing. You know. Now I will say this, right? Absolutely. There are like some of their arguments here are kind of mid, right? But what you're doing isn't really debunking that. Like I debunked like this one and this one, right? But like I didn't really debunk this one because there's a lot of people. I don't think they do join it for the sake of that. I don't think you did either. But there are a lot of like so I don't think like this one even really needs to be addressed. Most people don't join it to do that. They do like people like you have started doing that, but that's not why you joined it. Absolutely not. I don't think anyone really does that. Like I feel like this is a thing, right? You should kind of know that you lost the battle when the person who is dunking on you is called the Cunny Lord and has like a rifle, or is that a? That's not a rifle, is it? Like, man, I get no. Is that a rifle or is that like a shotgun? Like I like it's kind of small. It looks like it's a rifle, but like the way she's holding like the barrel, like it's kind of like this. Like I know you're supposed to hold a rifle similarly, but like you know when you like you have like that it's like oh is she cocking back the shell thing? The pump action shotgun, it's probably just a rifle. I can't really see if there's a pump on there or not. If it's a pump, it's a shotgun. If it's not, it's a rifle, right? I think it's a rifle. But anyway, I'm just trying to like I can't really see enough. Like my eyes are fucking bad. I've already said that. I literally like nearly lost my eyesight because someone beat the fucking shit out of me. I literally like have plates where my like bones of my eyes used to be. I got mutilated really fucking bad by someone, basically. Make America great again. But anyway, if this is what's dunking on you, like maybe like it, because most of the people like this clearly aren't serious. You can kind of tell because they're like, oh, fuck off, pedophile. I'm the Cunny Lord. Like, yeah, no. This person's being like a shit lord for a reason, right? But like that's the thing. Like you were actively being trolled by anyone like this, and you're giving that attention as if it's like legitimate. But like that's the reason they do it, right? They know you're like there's nothing really wrong with you. You're just being an asshole, but like you're being an asshole, so they're being an asshole back. Like don't be an asshole, and most of these people go away, right? Yeah, like what did they say? Fictional characters are not real. Take your meds, right? They're not even saying anything as mean as what I thought they would be. Like they literally are just saying, "Look, take your meds and piss off," right? Like fiction isn't reality. So like this person who is clearly trolling you because you're being a piece of shit, isn't even being mean to you like I thought they would be. They're just saying, look, we're not doing anything wrong. Just shut up about us. It's really all they're saying, really. Just shut up. Leave me alone. I'm trying to fucking watch my fucking Onimai. Which is literally a trans Olicon anime, right? Like, I want to watch my Onimai. Can you piss off, please? Take your meds. None of this is real. I'm just trying to enjoy my fucking show. And like that, I kind of like like this guy, right? Now this guy is clearly trolling, right? Like if you go on their page, there'll probably be a bunch of right wing anime memes, and the entire point is to troll like people like you. Yeah, they aren't serious at all. Like I bet you this person doesn't even live in the U.S. Never mind voted for Trump. But like they are going to insult you for that bullshit. Like come on. Like, come on, you set yourself up insulting your own audience, and you're like, yeah, you expect someone like who looks like this to not to take you seriously? Come the fuck on. Like they name themselves after like, isn't Chico like a drug dealer name, right? Like, isn't that like a drug dealer's name Chico? They're doing a lot of shit like that makes it clear they're a shit lord, and you're giving them attention, and they knew you were going to give them attention. That's why they did that.
These people think they own the VTuber community because they think they own anime, and they bully anyone into.
Well, no, what it is actually doing is saying, please just shut the fuck up with your dumbass opinions and trying to police what we like. Like Lord of Dawn is the person who's saying this correctly, right? Most people don't actually care that you're trans, like in the anime community. They just care that you're a fucking annoying. Even this person, right? They're like, okay, Grim, they're doing that because you're being a piece of shit, right? If you didn't, like, these people would be like this. This is the weird thing. Like, I don't really like these guys because it's really like a retarded thing. But like, the entire point is to say you're a piece of shit. Fuck off. I don't really respect you anymore. But like, they only really do this when you piss them off, right? It obviously is just like they don't really like the fact that you're being a fucking annoying pest. So that I feel like groomer is definitely like, actually no, here it is actually perfectly fine because you're calling them that, so then they're calling you that. Now, most of the time people don't really care, right? Most of the time people don't care if you're trans or gay or whatever, right? They just look, leave us the fuck alone and we will not care. This is all it really comes down to. Don't kink shame in this sentence, right? Like, you don't have to like, I'm not into lolicon. I fucking hate the fucking art. When it comes to like pornographic lolic art, right? But I don't really hate lolicons, and the reason why isn't even that I know at my place. It's that I kind of get like the vibes, right? Like, yeah, a lot of them were abused just like I was, and are kind of coping with that through their own means, right? That's one part, right? You know, and they just, like they just want to like be friendly and stuff, and everyone's like harassing them. Yeah, I vibe with that. So I'm like, hey, look, I'm not going to like your artwork, but I'm not really going to diss it either, you know? And the other thing is, like, most of it is fine, obviously. Look at this. Like, what's problematic about any of that, right? Nothing, right? But, like, they also do have a lot of fan art that, I don't like. But here's the thing, right? If someone wants this chick, right, naked, it's a character, right? Like, it's a fictional character. I don't really care, right? If someone wants to if this was a real person, and someone was thinking that, I would punch them in the fucking face. Want to know the difference? This isn't a real person. That's the difference. Right? Also, like, if you know, like, history of anime, this is actually, like, a large amount of like the cuteness overload of Japan in the first place is their obsession with cats, right? So like this is actually a kitten's face on a person, right? Um, so Japan has like an obsession with youth in kittens, right? Now you can call it pedophilic all you want, but also cats are adorable, and I think like wanting people to be adorable is fine, right? And if you look in Japan, there's a lot of people who look like they're 16 at like 30 because of that obsession, right? Now, not all of them, obviously. No culture can like evade twink death in their 30s that fucking long, but some people in Japan do. Culturally, you can't, but individually, occasionally, you can avoid twink death. It takes a lot of effort, though. Like people in their 40s who don't have twink death, are extremely rare for like a reason, you know. But that's like in anything, right? Like the idea, like the worst part is like everyone's like, oh, trans women above 30 never fucking look like women. I'm like, dude, like most women once they reach like 50, the vast majority look like shit too, right? Like the vast majority of anyone looks like shit like by their 50s. If they try to be effeminate in the first place, right? Like masculinity, like the death is like 60 usually, but femininity, the death is kind of just your mid 40s. And we're talking about like like on average, right? There's plenty of gilfs, absolutely, but not really plenty. Plenty is like the wrong word there. You know what I mean? Like there are gilfs, but there's not really a lot of them. But they are fucking. I've had some gilf crushes. Let's just say that. That's the other thing. Like I prefer like older women. I'm like the hag fetishes. They're the lolly fetishes, right? Um, but like my thing is like now. To be fair, I apply mine IRL too. I prefer older women usually. Now, I'm also gay, so like I guess not really. But if I was, it would be an older woman. I'm like I'm like the Walter in this scenario. Like 72 virgins, what the hell? How about 72 slutty broads know what the hell they're doing? Like Walter. I love that fucking time. Like the thing is, it was edgy jokes made towards terrorists, right? Like even then, like yeah, it was like kind of you could argue it was Islamic phobic, but like the thing is, he never said Islam. Right, like they never really made fun of Islam itself. They only made fun of the bullshit from the terrorists, right? So was it really Islamophobic or was it terrorist phobic? Because they made it pretty clear that it wasn't every average Muslim plenty of times. And yet people still get mad. Like they're not talking about Muslims. They're talking about the terrorists that did 9/11. Which specifically was this group, like the group of people who believe the hadiths on that, which most Muslims don't even believe the hadith, remember? That's another thing. Oh yeah, Sensei of the present. Yeah. I don't know. I think like yeah, I feel like this is the thing. Like if she turns out to be a minor, y'all fucked. And it's these they're gooning to ogres, but draw the line at a number on a character wiki. Like that's the thing, right? Like you're fine gooning to her until you find out that like the character isn't 18 yet. Like this is the same thing with like Zabby Vodka, right? Like furries all surrounded that, and like the character ended up being like 6. Yeah, look. At the end of the day, it's a character that's fictional. It's not harming anyone. Stop pretending like it is.
Like, what the fuck? These people are gooning to ogres but draw the line at a number on character wiki? What the fuck is wrong with these people? And so...
What are you talking about?
It's like really obvious who I have offended with this part, but because there are a lot of people who are like, I just like, I just like petite.
Yeah, like they're saying like you're fine with gooning to the character until like their age is revealed. As in, you have no problem with the thing that you see on screen. You have a problem with fapping to some other part that you don't necessarily even focus on. Right? That's what he was saying. You're not looking at the age or anything. You're looking at like what you enjoy, right? And you enjoy ogres, so like, why don't you just keep going to ogres? Like, who the cares? Ogres aren't real, right? That's what he was saying there, right? And you're trying to make this out like a thing. Like, no, what he's saying is like, dog, like you're doing something weird. Power to you. But like, don't pretend like you didn't enjoy it 5 minutes ago just because the character's like 14 or something, right? Like, no, you enjoyed it, motherfucker. We saw you. Stop pretending you don't. And that's really like what that means, right? Like, it's a fucking number, right? And the other thing is like, aren't most like of the characters like in anime that everyone likes minors anyway, right? Like, outside of Dragon Ball Z, the vast majority of anime protagonists are kids. In fact, the vast majority of anime characters who aren't kids are lollies. Right? Like, the ones that are kids are like, you have the fucking like Naruto's and the Sasuke's and the Hinata's and the Sakura's and the Midoriya's and the Shigarakis, right? Is it like you got pretty much every JoJo protagonist while they're still the protagonist? I mean, like once the season ends, like they tend to get pretty old real quick. But Jotaro's a 17-year-old in part 3, right? Isn't like Giorno Giovanna like 16, right? I actually don't know. I have to look that one up. But like, and then like Attack on Titan, right? Most of the characters are 16, 17 there. The reason you don't think that is because they look like adults, right? But they aren't. They aren't. Most of them are not. In fact, the vast majority of people probably fap to a minor in that sense because they probably fap to this character that they thought was 18, but they weren't, because that's the other thing. They look older while being younger. Right? And then the younger characters, you see the lolicon, oh, I can't fap to that, that's a child. They're 30,000 years old. Now you got like a bit of a pickle, right? You're fine fapping the characters that look like they might be older, but then you're not fine fapping the characters that are actually way older. Where is the sense in that?
People are like,
that's why they're saying like the numbers thing is stupid in the first fucking place. Like, it's fine if you don't like Lolicon because you think it looks too like youthful or whatever, right? That's the same thing that bothers me with it. But like, at the end of the day, right? Like, just admit that you just don't like this thing and move the fuck on. Let's stop like trying to demonize people for it, because that's really what's getting you in the hot water. No one really cares if you don't like it. People care that you're fucking trying to demonize people over it.
why you criticize the sexualization of minors? Photo on the left as an example of a minor. It's like, that's not what we're talking about. Like, how dishonest do you have to be? You people literally draw tentacle stuff of fictional characters who are underage. Like,
yeah, so. Yeah, so.
Quote tweet of a VTuber: the crying emoji, cute and funny, is already like a lolly dog whistle, where the origin is already like sexualizing children. It makes me feel really sick. I don't want to scroll down on that page because you're going to see things.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a yeah, you're gonna see some VTuber feet connoisseur. Like there's a lot of people who you're moots with that follow them too. So you got Velmont, Droid, Delacroix, VTuber feet connoisseur, and 6 others you follow.
It's a big creator appealing to the worst types of people, and then being like, oh no.
Yeah, VTuber feet connoisseur is apparently the worst type of people. You follow them, by the way. Does that make you appeal to the person who's appealed by the worst kinds of people? Does that make you the worst kinds of people too? right? Like stop this shit, right? Like
Sexualization of minors. Like, yeah, you do. You literally do. You literally post the sexualizations of fictional minors.
okay, yeah, but they're fictional, so they aren't minors, right?
The kids are animated doesn't mean they're not.
Well, no, it kind of does nuke the kobold because they're not real.
The kids, yeah, exactly. Respect.
Like, here's the thing, right? Like, the left, like when I was a kid, right? This is why like people say like the left isn't the left anymore. Or at least they did when I was like in 2016, when it was like the left is eating itself, but like is it really the left was like the thing, right? And the reason why I say that, right, is the left is like thought crimes should not be crimes, right? Like this was the left back in the day.
It is a horrible idea that there is somebody who owns us, who makes us, who supervises us, waking and sleeping, who knows our thoughts, who can convict us of thought crime, thought crime, just for what we think, who can judge us while we sleep for things that might occur to us in our dreams, who can create us sick, as apparently we are, and then order us on pain of eternal torture to be well again. To demand this, to wish this to be true, is to wish to live as an abject slave.
So that was the left back in the day for what you're advocating for now, as a quote leftist. So you're apparently left wing, advocating against the core values of leftism. Yes, thought should not be crimes. That is a very, 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 very far right, but like ideological opinion of yours. That is legit Nazi shit that you're talking about when you talk about like sexualization of fictional characters, right? Is bad. Because you're talking about thought crimes. That's what Nazis did. Like, that's what Nazis did. That's what Nazis do. I don't know, maybe stop being a Nazi. I'm just saying, like, you're German already too. Like that kind of like defeats a bit of the argument there too, buddy.
That's crazy. You don't own me. You don't own VTubing.
No, you're right. The person who owns you is whoever, like Christopher Hitchens is talking about there.
Own me. You don't put me in my place. Shut the fuck up. Honestly, it made me feel a certain way. My brain is cooked. I'm still trying to recover from this. I'm still trying to recover from learn your place.
To be fair, it is kind of silly. Yeah, I agree there.
Created by lolicons and 80% of its viewers are lolicons. Like, no, that's not true. Is lolly and lolicon the same thing? I never thought so, but a lot of people use it interchangeably, and I think that's where like a lot of like issues come from. I think it's kind of wild because like the term already has like certain connotations to it. A lot of people are like, oh, we just like petite women. Nobody's doing that to underage children. It's like, a lot of you do though. A lot of you do. And then you call it out and you all get like defensive because you think it's like an attack on you personally. But yeah, like
So
jump scare. Yeah, but
Shadow the Hedgehog.
also had people call me the capitals of VTubing because
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty stupid. First off, there is a Keffels of VTubing, and they're very much shitty. Just like Keffels. Like Keffels isn't just a piece of shit for like this either, even. Like Keffels is a communist, a scam artist, you know, they have constantly like bullied and harassed their own critics, right, from the trans community. Instead, like I guess you could argue that they're doing that right now with like the trans couple audience members who no longer will watch. But like, you're not really like Keffels had a lot more power to bully their audience, right? Like Keffels was an immensely shitty person. Well, not was, she still is. But like what people like Keffels is just like Keffels is like describing Keffels' level of shitty requires like its own video like dedicated, and I just like Willie Mack already did that, right? Like Keffels is an immensely shitty person. And it has nothing to do with like most things people think. She just is that pathetic. She abuses her pets. She abuses, her own audience. Yes, she also like tells kids how to use needles, a very dangerous method of taking drugs. And all that shit. Like people are on her about like the lolicon bullshit on her Otokonoko brand drugs. I don't really care. Like, look, who cares? It's like that's the other thing. Who cares? Right? But it's also kind of funny, like that she's anti-lolicon, and then she has Otokonoko brand with Shoto and lolicon on it, right? Now, I am fine with that, right? I don't really care. It's just that's not what I like. Hey, really, if it wasn't even needles, I wouldn't even care that much. As long as like most of the customers were 16, and like she could kind of verify that, I wouldn't really care, right? It's really just all the other shit around it, Like, and also the fact that it was needle based. Like, look, kids shouldn't be playing with needles. Adults really shouldn't be playing with needles either. Playing with needles is bad. I'm just gonna put that like on a thing, right? Kids should not be playing with needles because needles are extremely dangerous. It doesn't even matter if there's something in them. A needle full of air can kill you because actually a needle with even a bubble of air is actually far more dangerous than most drugs you would inject with a needle. To be fair. That's how like I could always say that's how like Michael Myers killed that one guy in Halloween 2. That needle was legit just filled with air. He died though. That's what it does to you. It gives you like a fucking aneurysm and you die.
I want trans kids to have access to education. But yeah, like these are the types of people.
Yeah, I do think that this one is shitty. I don't really care about this one or this one though. This one is absolutely shitty though. But like these two, like these two and this one, like aren't really that bad, right? Like he's just pointing out how like there's a lot of pedophiles who are on your side, and it seems to be very common that a lot of people who are obsessively against lolicon are either into lolicon themselves or actually just pedophiles. So yeah, like you're probably into it and just trying to hide it from your audience is what they're thinking, right? And they're right, by the way. Like you didn't even really do it that well. Like where was it? Like you've got it in the feet connoisseur one in this person anyway, right? So like you are fine with lolicon as long as it's feet pics apparently. Like there you go, your clock was reset, but you aren't a pedophile. You're just into lolic feet. Just admit that, and you're fine, right? You don't have to hate yourself over that, right? But that's what they're saying, right? Like you're either a piece of shit or you're hating yourself for no reason. That's legitimately what this is actually trying to tell you. This one is shitty. Like this shit should just fucking stop. Especially here, like someone had to dedicate some fucking time to this. That's the worst part, right? Someone dedicated time to making a suicide soy jack. Like hours of their day went into this. It's fucking wild. Like that's not just like insane for like telling someone to kill themselves because you disagree with them online. That's insane because like you spent hours to even days, maybe even weeks, working on this specific shit post. Like that is disgustingly way too much fucking time to waste.
I was like, oh, interesting
Okay, that could take weeks if you like really like want to like it be exactly precise and stuff too. Especially if you don't measure it right away, like you don't have it going planned in, perfectly measured out right away. That shit took a long time to make. That person dedicated so much time of their lives to making a suicide soy jack to show people. That is like disgusting how insane that person was, right? And that's the thing. I can defend you from shit like that because it is wrong, right? But like you're also in the wrong here. Like this is how it goes. Stop like doing what they do. And like most of those people won't have a problem with you, and the people who still do because you're trans, right? What'll happen is like they'll like be less they'll be more willing to defend you in cases like that because there are trans lolicons in that community, right? Who are very much defense. In fact, I think the one who does the reset the clock thing is trans themselves. Actually, you know what? They are. I know that person. They are trans. So like the person is saying, look, what's most likely going to happen is you're just going to be found out that you're just into it like us, and you just stop. And like you are, like you follow a VTuber foot account, which means you follow a lolicon foot account. like you follow a lolicon foot fetish account, Yara. Just stop. Like you're fine. But like admit that, because if you're fine, they're fine, right? That's the thing, right? Just okay. Look, I'm into lolly feet. We're fine. It doesn't really matter. It was fine. But it's all I'm asking you to do is apologize for this tirade, right? Like there are probably people who are going to be worse than that. Yeah, like so there's this person, right? I'd argue it is, right? Because you are too. Like you've already exposed yourself by being in the lolicon feet. like unless you only like VTubers who have adult characters, right? Which is very much not really going to be true. Very much. You like lolicon feet. So there's the thing. Yeah, like there are very many actually. Like I said, like the person behind the reset the clock meme is trans themselves.
Go get therapy for you. Don't associate transgender people with.
I will admit that is fucking funny. Like the funny thing is though, all of these guys are antis, pretty sure, right? Like I know these two are, right? I'm not really. Well, I mean, I guess he never was because I don't even think he knows what fucking anime is. He's a fucking old cunt. But P Diddy probably hates anime in general, and this guy clearly like just is a lolicon hater. But yeah, it's like 5 fucking pedophiles at once. I don't know if they're talking about like an anti, or if they're trying to say like how like much lollies are like very defensive and aggressive, but yeah, it doesn't really matter, really.
Get that it's like a really sensitive issue to talk about. I get that there are a lot of VTubers who are not comfortable with this stuff, who are scared to speak out or even be associated with people who speak out. And I definitely learned my lesson of speaking out about it, but I really wanted to make my stance absolutely clear. There are a lot of intricacies that I don't understand.
I mean, Vosh, I'll be honest, I stopped following Vosh way before the lolicon shit because he was a pedophile for other reasons. Like, this is the guy who would constantly defend, like, lowering the age of consent. And he'd be like, it's a joke, which is the same defense, like, Matt Walsh did. And like I think they're both pedophiles for that, right? Like I apply the same standard to Vosh and Matt Walsh there. Like they both defended advocating for a lower age of consent. Now Vosh also hated lolicons, whereas Matt Walsh at least took the stance of hating all of anime. But regardless, they're both shitty people and pedophiles. But they're not pedophiles for their stance on anime or like licking fictional characters. They're pedophiles because they want to fuck children. Like Vosh and Matt Walsh have both advocated for a lower age of consent, as in below what it is now. In a lot of places, it's 16 still, so below 16. Right? I think 16 is a fine minimum. Right, 18 I think is like, you know, like a good maximum too. Like it should be 18 like everywhere, but 16 is a fine minimum anyway, especially since like Romeo and Juliet laws usually, like what happens is usually either Romeo and Juliet, if you're 19 you can, you know, and 20 and stuff, right? 19 and 20 you can still, you know, with a minor who's 16 at 19 and 20 you can do it with 17-year-olds, right? You know, that's not great, but like it's also like you met them in school, right? Like that's why those laws exist. And so like the ones that have 16, it's just like, well, okay, this would be the same thing, but like we're just gonna be honest, like who cares, right? Is what those states are. Now I think it should be 18, but they also do defend like Romeo and Juliet law. As in, if you like if you are in the same high school together as students at the same time, you know, like there's a difference there. Yeah. Like there's a bit of a difference from your high school crush is 17 and you're 19 to like your Sneeko trying to have sex with a 17-year-old at 30. Right? That's why I say like Sneeko's argument was dog shit. Because yes, that makes sense if you're like 19 or 20, Sneeko, but you're fucking in your 30s. Like that argument of, oh, she was 17 years, 364 days, and 23 hours and 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Yeah, you know what? But you're 30, right? If it was like that's really ultimately the thing, right? Like it like basically at that point it's like you could have just waited 1 second and he would have been fine then. like that's the thing, right? Because that ultimately makes it even dumber, because it's like you had to wait 1 second, right? By the time you even pulled your cock out, if you were fine waiting, you would have already been 18. Right? Like, if we're going with your argument, by the time you even pull your dick out in the first place, she's 18. So, like that argument is dumb, because by the time you even can copulate with someone at that age, like that at that very specific age of 1 second below 18, like by the time you can even attempt to do that, she's already 18. So yeah, like that's a dumb fucking defense anyway. Because first off, who the fuck would wait that long if you're gonna like be that kind of guy that just waits? Who the fuck would wait that long but then not wait till it's 1 more second till it's legal? That is the dumbest fucking argument ever, right? And like at least say 17 in like 6 months, like something that actually like could happen, right? But like even then, right? Like 17 in 6 months, you're 30. So yeah, just wait the 6 months or date someone your own age, you know? Because that's really the thing, right? Like if you're 30, why are you dating people who are like 13, 14 years younger than you? That's stupid. Like they're not gonna have your same ideals either, because you're 30. They got the younger mind, you got the older man mind, you know, like you got the 30 mind. So go date some 30-year-olds or like some late 20s, you know? Maybe some early 20s, right? But like that's kind of the thing, right? Like ultimately people in different age brackets even have different mindsets, right? So yeah, like it's a dumb fucking argument. Now if it's Romeo and Juliet laws, like if you're 20, yeah, like they're 17, who cares, right? Like you met them in high school. They were a freshman while you were a junior. You know, like yeah. I'm not really that upset there. You know.
Doing a good job of like gatekeeping the bad people, and instead you're rushing to the defense. You're celebrating that I'm getting harassed, and you like justify it because it's just
like you always say it, right? The person being 17 for Dr. Diddley is like he's called Dr. Diddley because he was 30, right? Razor Fist was 40, like almost like was 30 when he fucked the 15-year-old, right? That's what the problem with that was, right? It's not that it's not just their age was under 18, it's that he was like double their age, right? Now, it doesn't matter once they're over 18, it doesn't matter like the age bracket difference, right? But if they're not an adult yet, yes, absolutely. If it's more than 3 years, fuck you. That age gap does make a lot, you know?
Just so you know, even if it's fictional, normalizing that stuff can be dangerous because the line will always be.
No, I disagree. And here's the reason why. The line is only dangerous for people who have mental illnesses already, right? Like school shooters, normal people don't shoot up their school. That is all mental illness. Some people say, oh, but they don't have a history. And then like you look at it and like they also just don't go to doctors they would be required to get that kind of treatment in the first place, right? Like yeah, if they never go to see a doctor because like they don't even have insurance, they're poor, right? Like the one that shot up Uvalde, everyone was like, oh, this person was never mentally ill. Like what are you fucking talking about? They shot up a fucking kindergarten. People don't do that if they're normal in the head. Like fuck you guys. Like no, they are messed up. Now, did they get messed up in a way that like doctors would like diagnose them with something? Well, could they even afford doctors? No, right? Maybe if they could afford doctors. I mean, I'll be honest. Maybe if they could have afford doctors, those kids wouldn't have died. Because a lot of that is like poor mental health too. Like the United States does not treat mental health properly. Now, I will say this: fuck that piece of shit. I don't even really care who they were, right? Or who he was. Like, also, like the people trying to claim that dude was trans. Like, no, the trans person is still alive. The shooter is dead. Also, a different race. The shooter was Mexican. This person's like white in a fucking like rural area of like fucking like it was like fucking like Kansas or something. They're not the fucking shooter. Oh, she's not the fucking shooter, I should say. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. Are they non-binary or were they like trans femme? I forgot. I just know that they aren't the shooter, right? Like I know they aren't the shooter because they're still alive. I have even I think I like met them, like not like since the shooting, but like I've met them IRL, I think, or like wasn't IRL. Like I've conversated with them before. They are not the same person. Or this after, I forget. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I remember talking to that person at one point. Anyway, regardless, what matters is they aren't the fucking shooter.
And people draw another line. And then people come at me and they're like, when I play Red Dead Redemption 2 and there's a crepe scene and I do that, like, am I a crepist now? If you like enjoy.
No.
That type of thing, if like that fulfills like a certain fantasy of yours, there's something wrong with you.
No, so what you're saying is BDSM, like fetishization, is something wrong with you? I mean, maybe, but like also like, is there anything wrong with what you're doing though?
And you should get help. Having these.
I mean, maybe, but again, like, what's wrong with you though?
Dark desires and like urges and like using these methods.
Well, what about the people who are into getting raped, right? There are people on both sides of that fetish, right? There's the S's and there's the M's, right? Like, are only S's bad people then? Like, and then M's are all goody two-shoes, right? Well, what if, like, the M's a horrible piece of shit who forces people to hurt them, right? This is the thing, right? Ultimately, there are people who take every fetish too far. Every single one has people who take it way too fucking far. But when it's fictional, it's not too far yet, right? When it's in real life, it's too far. right? Another thing is, like, they talk about Shadman. Shadman was hated by lolicons for doing the shit he did with Keemstar's daughter. And even then, he was never arrested for being, because it wasn't a criminal thing. It was insanely evil, but it wasn't criminal, right? What happened? It's the same thing with like Ava Chris Tyson. Like, she wasn't a criminal. I do fucking loathe her, but like not for the lolicon. It was actually more for like the camper van bullshit and stuff, right? Also because she used to be transphobic until like the past 2 fucking years. Like before she like announced her transition, she was very much a fucking massive transphobe. Like, not really massive, but like, you know, like she wasn't like J.K. Rowling massive, but she was like she was definitely wasn't like okay, you know? Like she was very much like towing the line. But to be fair, a lot of trans people did like do that, so like, you know. But what I'm saying is like Ava Chris Tyson, like she's kind of you know, like she like the reason why she's pedophilic has nothing to do with the lolicon. It has to do with the fact that she met a kid in a camper van, a 13-year-old kid in a camper van, and you know, like made like all these fucking jokes with them and shit, right? Like, I don't know, like you are literally towing so many lines that it becomes too fucking much for me, right? Like, maybe she isn't. Maybe she never fucked any kids, but and maybe she's just like very edgy and unrepentant of her edginess. That's absolutely a possibility. But that's a little far for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is absolutely way too far for me, actually. I am not comfortable with someone bringing 13-year-old kids into a grape van, basically. Because that's what that is. A camper van is the van that people joke about people getting raped when they walk by one. Like that's the one where they say always look both ways when crossing the street. That's that van. Right? That's the never talk to strangers van. That's the don't take candy from strangers van. Right? That's that one. They brought that specific van, right? Like a windowless white van. Like the thing is, even if she's not a pedophile, she definitely wanted to be seen as one with that fucking shit. Because that's legitimately like that's the meme with that. The other meme is like you're gonna get your kidneys removed in a Colombian necktie, right? Or your kidneys will be removed and replaced with cocaine.
Being in the bus and just like grabbing this girl's butt and then going into a love hotel. I think that's gross, and that shouldn't be.
Well, you can think it's gross, but like I can also think that like fingerprint. Oh no, fingerprints. I don't think so. It's gross, right? People have thought those were gross too because they're just sex jokes on children's cartoons with animal kid characters performing them, right? But most of us were fine with those, right? But they were literally animal kid characters that were making sex jokes in front of us while we were kids, right? Well, I mean, like another thing, like I'll talk about like Naruto, like when people start bringing this up, we'll talk about how Naruto, Uzumaki, right? Like had like his butt poked by Kakashi, right? And people were like, "Oh, that's just a joke. That's just like playtime." Look, yeah, and if you do that, it's pedophilic, right? Like that's a pedophilic joke. Like it's an old man, right? Like yes, I know kids do that in Japan, right? But those are little kids, right? We're talking about a grown ass man, Kakashi, doing that to a 14-year-old kid, right? Not 6-year-olds doing that to each other. And like it was a little different there. So like if we're gonna go on the fictional side, right? If fiction is wrong, then Naruto is wrong because Naruto's had the first season had that, right? Also, like, obviously, like, the sexy jutsu shit, too, right? But you'd argue at least, like, the people, like, maybe it's a woman transformation, so it's, like, full-on woman. So maybe, like, you know, they think, like, Naruto is, like, 30 or something. At that point, you know?
Makes me even a bigger target. Because a lot of these people, the people who are like really invested, are also transphobic. I just want to make my sense clear. That
A lot of them are, yeah, absolutely, but not all of them. And a lot of them are also trans, right? So, like, where does it, like...
to claim the VTubing community for themselves. These people shouldn't be able to own anime. I'm just so tired of being...
And, like, here's the thing, right? You can't gatekeep anyone. They can't gatekeep you. You can't gatekeep them, right? So really what you should do is not try. Like, both of you are trying, neither of you are succeeding. Because you can't. You can't gatekeep a fandom, right? Because ultimately, ultimately we're in capitalism, right? Like Arch always, like, makes me laugh out loud at this. Like, I'm gonna gatekeep Warhammer. Like, dog, you're not even allowed it near the Warhammer fandom anymore because you're, like, such a shitty person. And here's how, like, you gatekeep Warhammer. You don't produce enough, like, things that people can buy them besides, like, you and your friends, right? That's the only way, right? Once you go commercial, you can no longer gatekeep it, because here's how like, you get into the Warhammer fandom, right? I've got money, and it's enough to cover a sale of a Warhammer, like, set, right? I'm gonna do that. Now you're a Warhammer fan member, right? That's how fandoms work, right? You can't gatekeep a fandom because the only, like, except for, like, the person, like, can't afford to be a part of it, right? Once they can afford to be a part of it, they're in the fandom, right? Like, that's how it is, right? They want it, they want this thing, they can afford this thing, they're a part of the fandom of that thing. That's how that works.
A punching bag was saying something that shouldn't be controversial. That shouldn't be, like, a taboo topic as a VTuber. Having to worry that, like, people come into my...
No, I think it should be a taboo topic. Thought crime should be a taboo topic. I don't care what the thought crime is, it should be a taboo topic. Like, you can disagree with, like, you can say it's taboo, right? But thought crime itself is a taboo, like, that's a very taboo topic. It's also a very far-right one, you know? Like, your German is showing, but not the kind of German you want to be. Right? Yeah, I'm starting to get, like, you want to start, like, you want to make Germany great again. And you want to expand it past, like, you know, its borders. You want Germany to, like, be like the globe. You want everyone to be a proud German. Yeah, like, I'm calling you a Nazi, just so you know. Because that is, like, a Nazi talking points. Like, there are many non-Nazi talking points here, right? Obviously, many of your enemies, especially J.K. Rowling, have done some Nazi talking points too. Turns out there's a lot of Nazi talking points that you know, people use on the left and right, because you know, the left and right aren't what they were in the 40s, right? The left and right kind of both, like, have, like, centrified themselves in many ways. So the far left and far right are both have, like, elements of fascism and communism in both. Whereas back in the 40s, they didn't, right? Back in the 40s, right, the right were the Nazis, and the left were, like, you know, people who didn't like Nazis. But, like, now it's not that anymore, right? Like, the definitions kind of changed. They kind of swiveled. So there's elements of right and left-wing, like, ideas in Nazism. And it's not really like like people talk about Overton window. It's not really that. We just defined it a bit differently, which is, like, the thing. Nazis are really not even far right; they're far up, right? They're center authoritarian. So, like, far right is, like, monarchy, right? And then far left is commie. They're all bad, right? I always say, like, I prefer a political triangle because the far right, far left, and far center ideologies there are all equally bad. For different reasons, sure, but they're all equally bad. And the outcome is always genocide and racism and all that anyway.
I enjoyed watching Watch because, like, I enjoyed his political But then someone from my community showed me a YouTube video where it addressed like the apology and added a lot of things that were missed out on. And even if, I don't know, he's changed and he's reformed and a lot of these things are like things that he doesn't support, it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And like,
Yeah, but my thing is, was it the lolicon, or was it actually like the fact that he advocates for fucking children, right? Because like he did both. I would rather it be the advocacy for fucking children, like that turned you off of him. That's what it turned me off.
unfollowed and I don't watch his content, even though I like his political coverage. I'm open to admit when I'm doing something that's wrong. I'm open to like changing, but I guess if you speak out against vile, disgusting people, you experience the entire wrath of like all the people who are like into lolly stuff. I know by addressing this and probably turning this into like a YouTube video or whatnot, I'm going to make myself an even bigger target. I just don't want to be silent about it. I don't want to downplay things, you know. I don't wanna be like, oh, it's just as bad as the real deal. It's like, no, that's not the case. It's like, I just know what can happen when things get like normalized. When you play Cyberpunk, why can't you just go around and just like unalive all those little kids?
Because the developers don't want you to? Is that really is that really like that controversial? Like the developers don't want to do that in the game.
Because there are certain lines that shouldn't be crossed. And
It's just they don't want to cross them. It's not that they shouldn't be allowed to cross them. I mean, they cross them in Terrifier 3, and I'm fine with that, right? Now, is it going to be more niche? Absolutely, right? But it's also going to be bigger. It's weird, like, Terrifier 3 is more niche than Terrifier 2 is more niche than Terrifier 1. Because, like, they keep, like, progressing the plot to be more disturbing, right? So obviously, more people are going to be out. Yet somehow, Terrifier 3 made the most money despite being the nichest film, right? And that's because it was hardcore with its niche. So while yes, less people are going to like that kind of content, more people who are into that kind of content are willing to see it because it pushes boundaries that no other film would, that they have not seen. So now they're more interested in it than they used to be, right? So boundary pushing films are fine. Now, obviously, if it was the Cuties kind of boundary pushing, that would be bad. See, the kids killed in Terrifier are never sexualized, obviously, because they're actual actors, and it's all the deaths are off screen because Art is very sexual in the way he clearly gets off to with murdering people, right? So to get away with that, they do it all off screen. Now they do all still die, but it's all kind of off screen, So it gives like a bit of it gives you a bit of a, hey, these people might be dead, but they like, you didn't see them brutally get murdered. You just saw like the little effects that replace their body afterwards, That's fine, right? But like that's kind of like how like kids have to die in like from a character like Art. Now there are characters like the kid from Halloween 2018, that's a kid and he died on screen, but it was neck snap, right? Michael Myers isn't fetishistic with the way he kills. Freddy Krueger and Art the Clown are, right? So it depends, right? Absolutely. Depends on like what the level of depravity the killer goes through, right? Because Michael Myers doesn't really get sexual, he can do whatever he does normally. Because Art and Freddy are clearly perverts. I mean, because of that, like they have to like do it off screen, and it's fine, right? Because now you're implying that a fucking pedophile murdered a kid in the movie, but you're not showing it. Which is important, right? But that's like the boundary there. But like the reason the boundary is there is because it's real life, right? There's real kid actors and actresses, right? Whereas like with Freddy, he could do it with kids. Like the characters he kills, almost all of them are kids, but they're played by adults, right? Like when he molests and kills Tina in the first movie, right? yes, he sexually assaults her and stuff, but she's played by an adult actress, so it's kosher because of that, right? So what matters in that film is the fact that, right, the actual things are adults. The characters are all children, but the actual people are adults, and that's what matters there, right? If there's kids, you can't do certain things because they're actual kids, right? Lolicon is fictional, right? Where just the same way as Nancy Thompson, right, and Glenn and Lisa and all that, right? They're all fictional children. So fictional children are fine, but like the people playing them, because of how sexual Freddy gets in the films, have to be adults. Fair. I'm fine with that, right? Yeah, Freddy Krueger is a pedophile in all the movies. It's just that he's never called one until like the remake, but also like the real reason that one's bad is because they try to make you sympathize over him, right? Everyone like talks about how he's a pedophile, but because they say it specifically, but nobody talks about the fact that Freddy Krueger isn't just a pedophile, but you're supposed to feel sympathy for the fucking piece of shit. Like, oh, I was falsely accused as a pedophile. It's like half the fucking movie, and then you're like, oh, wait, no, he was absolutely 100% a pedophile, you find out at the end. So, like, they try to make you sympathize as if he was falsely accused, and then they say, oh, no, he absolutely 100% was a child molesting murderer.
Purposefully do that and, like, enjoy it and whatnot makes me feel sick. There's certain things that shouldn't be played out in fiction. And I totally understand why a lot of these people love their AI. There are lines that even the artists of those communities don't want to cross. So
yeah, I mean, and I think that's fair though. Like if the AI is used for things that people don't want to draw, and it's hard to find an artist for it, what's the problem there, right? Like the point of AI art that's problematic is that the artist would love to do that work, right? Like that's my problem. Like if you're not taking away from artists, what's the point, right? Like what's the point of complaining about, oh, these guys are getting things that they wouldn't be able to get? Like it's not that they can't afford it, it's that no one really wants to make it. It's like, who cares then, right? Like if the issue is that people want to make it, but they're just stealing from them, then that's an argument there, right? And it is an argument that happens, right? A lot of AI bros, that is what they do, right? But if they're just they want their porn, and no one wants to make it for them. They got money. It's not really that they have no problem. They have no quarrel paying someone. It's just nobody wants to make it. Then who the fuck cares, right? Like it's their money. It's their wallet. If no one wants to spend it, then it's not really making anything that they would want anyway. Like they would get anyway, right? They're not stealing at that point, because you can't. Stealing implies a loss of something, right? So when you steal from an artist, it means what it really means is you are reducing their income, right? You are causing financial harm by your actions to the artist. So in this one particular case, they objectively aren't, because none of the artists would ever even work on those projects, right?
they use AI for it. If you are just like one of those people who's like, oh, like I just like petite women, I'm not talking about you. I'm also not talking about the people who are like, I like watching anime with the characters who are basically like my little sister. I'm talking about the people who are like, this character is 13 years old and I want to generate art of them in various poses. And if you defend those types of people and you don't gatekeep your community, you don't push these people out.
I don't defend it. I just don't think it needs to be defended. Like there's nothing wrong with it, right? Well, like that's my thing, right? I'm not defending it. I'm just eliminating the conversation. There's nothing wrong with it. Let's stop having that one. Like, let's start having a conversation about like the fact that we're losing all our rights instead of having a conversation over this petty bullshit, right? Like Elon Musk is firing all our government to weaken the U.S. infrastructure, and we're talking about this bullshit. And people are like, well, we can talk about two at a time. Like, no, you can't, right? It's the same bullshit with like that Bon Voyage guy thing where like everyone's like, well, we can talk about two different things. That's why when we focus all our attention on the fact Bon Voyage guy is kind of racist, and maybe like two people talk about the fact that a trans woman got sexually assaulted by people in her hotel room. And we never bring that up, but it did happen. We're focusing on two at a time. That's the fucking beta lato guy, right? Said that. Like, no, you're not. If you are focusing on two at a time, then you're focusing on two at a time. If you're not doing it two at a time, you're not focusing on them. You're focusing on one thing and ignoring the other. That's what that is, right? A trans woman got beat up at FC, and everyone's talking about further confusion 2025, right? And people are talking about the fact that Pablo was kind of a dildo brain and a bit of a jerk, okay? But like he also talked about how the very thing I said happened, and yet nobody else talked about it. But I talked about it. He talked about it. Y'all didn't talk about it. That's what he's talking about. Right? Like, yes, if he brings up the fact that a trans woman got abused, and like to be fair, like he kind of like does focus too much on the drug shit too. Like, I don't really care if someone gets high on Icon, I don't care, right? But the one thing another thing he focused on was the fact that trans women and kids were getting abused in hotel rooms, which did happen. Like that physically fucking happened. Like, it was a thing that is recorded. A trans woman and a couple of kids got assaulted because a bunch of, like, to be fair, the people who were assaulting them were also kids. Fucking, like, they tried to sexually assault the trans woman and because they had kids that were friends with them, they fucking beat the shit out of them too, right? It was fucking disgusting to see that. And then like Beta Little is like, oh, we get to focus on two things at once. Then why aren't you? Because that's the thing ultimately. Like, we can focus on two things at once. Well, then do so. Do it. Yeah, like, do it. Don't like that. Don't like, no, do it. Do it. All of ya, do it.
I think it's fair to assume, from my side, my personal opinion, that you're part of the problem. And I know that sounds rough. I know that a lot of people get like really angry when I do that, when I do this sort of generalization and whatnot.
Right. I don't know. I'm just like fucking like. I hate like whenever I say do it, I just immediately turn into a gluckin and a slig. Right. Do it. Okay. I love Oddworld. It's so fucking fun.
Obviously, I don't appeal to these people because my character doesn't look like a teenage girl. Like, I don't want these people in my community because that type of content makes me feel disgusted. I feel like a lot of the things, when they get like normalized in fiction, a lot of people get desensitized to it and they don't take.
But that's not really been a thing ever. Like, you know what desensitized me to gun violence? The fact that it happens every other fucking week. You know, like, yeah, okay, a school shooting happened, 20 people died. Oh, wait, is it take Thursday or Wednesday? Oh, it's Tuesday. Okay, that's expected then. Or like that. Oh, wait, it's just Wednesday. Or just, like, you know, like when you get to that point, like, it's not the video game violence that's desensitized me. Right, I'm fine with video game violence, but I am not fine with that. But I am kind of getting desensitized because it happens way too fucking often IRL. Like, none of this has to do with fucking Call of Duty. It has to do with the fact that it happens every other week. I'm getting tired of seeing that shit. Like, you're like, oh, like, school shit. Like, yeah, like, well, maybe, like, get mental health better and stop fucking, like, focusing on video games and start focusing on mental health. And maybe things will fucking improve. Like, I'm like, people are like, oh, guns, like, that's not going away, right? So let's focus on something that can go away. The big mental health crisis, right? Like all you got to do is give people insurance and actually fucking care for your fellow Americans. You know, like, have parents that actually do their fucking jobs and shit too, right? But no one wants to do that. No one wants to do that. You know why? Because here's why, right? The right are evil, and the left are not in my backyards. As in, the right doesn't want to help anyone, and the left doesn't want to be the ones who help anyone, right? The right is vile and hateful, and the left will love you and respect you as long as they don't have to be the ones that have to do it. Right, like George Carlin is a massive like influence of me, obviously, and Not in My Backyard are like the biggest fucking crowd of like people I hate on the left, right? Like you can have your own morals or whatever that I disagree with or whatever, right? But if you ever start Not in My Backyard and around me, I'm like, dog, fuck off. Like if people need help, then help them, right? Like ultimately, you know what it really comes down to? People talk about like how the Bible has been abandoned, and it has, right? But the problem with it isn't like that there's trans people or whatever, right? That was a thing even when the Bible was written. The problem is that instead of lifting each other up, everyone has pushed each other down, right? Why is the left pushing people down, right? The left should be bringing people up, right? Like you always say it, right? Like ultimately the message of Christ is bring people up, right? It's not give away all your possessions because you have them. It's if you are better than someone else, you need to bring them up to your level, right? Always bring humanity upwards, right? Is what the actual message of Christianity was, right? If you see someone suffering, bring them back up to your level. That's what it's really saying, right? That's what it's like really saying. Right now, there are like problems with it that I disagree with. Obviously, there's a lot of focus on homophobia and stuff, right? But I'm not really a lot of focus. It's like 2 fucking sentences, but like people act like that's a lot, right? But anyway, there's a few verses here and there that are kind of transphobic or homophobic and stuff. Also femboy phobic. It's kind of weird that like people are like pro like very much pro Christianity, and then like the thing that they do is like a shit on, and then like they're a femboy, right? And they're like, oh, I hate trans people because the Bible told me so. I'm like, every single Bible verse that shits on trans people applies to femboys, right? Like every single one, because the way they viewed transness back then was femboys, right? There were no different levels of transition. There was just femboys back then, right?
Legally and like explore legally and find a community who like
because that's the other thing, right? Like trans really just is an umbrella term, and people don't like that it's an umbrella term for anyone who defies gender roles. So like femboys and tomboys and all of them are trans, but like they're not necessarily like in identity. They're just not following normal gender roles, right? Or well, quote normal, what society considers normal, right? So yeah, they technically are trans, but they're not really trans, right? There's plenty of tomboys that clearly are fairly effeminate sometimes, right? Same with femboys, they're clearly masculine. You know, like it's a spectrum and it's an umbrella term, right? Transgender means anything that defies gender norms, and then like, you know, like you've got all these other like things that it covers, right?
And I think that is not
well,
but yeah, like that's just what I wanted to talk about.
Like pre-op, post-op, up, like, you know, upper body surgery, bottom surgery, you know, then you have like just like HRT transition, femboy, Odakonoko and stuff. Like you've got plenty of levels of transition that are all completely different, you know?
I know it's like a really
But like that's what a transition is. It's ultimately society says man need be big, buff, and have massive chin. And then you're like, well, I don't want to do that. So like I'm gonna do something else. And then that's what transgenderism really is. But like you know, like people don't like that it's just that, but yeah, that's all it really is. You defy the norms of society set for your gender. You're trans, right? Like that's actually another thing about it. Like trans is such a fucking massive umbrella that like most people don't even need treatment for it, because most people are fine like with the fact that like they like just can define them themselves, right?
controversial topic now.
Like a femboy isn't necessarily treatment, right? Sometimes it is, but some other times it's like, well, I just like wearing it because I think it's fun, right?
I'm trying to approach it a little bit more mindful because I didn't do a good enough job on Twitter, and I'm trying to address a lot of the things, and I want to like empathize with people who like use it as like a mechanism to like cope and like.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm saying like you should probably just stop doing this bullshit. Like, just stop like attacking people for lolicon and just start like if they're like start like Rev's a grifter, right? Rev's a grifter. You know, he's kind of an asshole. He's a bigot. You know, you can attack him for the actual problems of him and like ignore the like the false petty bullshit about lolicon, and immediately like you'll have more respect too.
Some people who just don't want to actually be associated with the people who do all these like dark.
And the thing is, Rev is not really like a guy who would defend lolicon really at all in real life, right? Rev is a fucking pussy, right? Like, Rev pretends to be pro lolicon and then just pushes out, you know, whenever he's in, like, the presence of normies, right? Most lolicons don't, but Rev literally pussies out. Like, that's how you know, like, he's just doing it for a grift, but other people do fucking, like, they will go out, like, if someone tries to, like, they will say what they're about. And people can't arrest them. They'll like be like, okay, look, you can call the cops. I'm just gonna stand here eating a sandwich. I've seen people do that, and it's great, right? That's what you need to do, right? And the cops sometimes they arrest like the fucking guy who called them because they wasted their fucking time, right? It's like, yeah, they're not a pedophile. You just fucking wasted their time, dumbass. Or they try to assault the lolicon, and then it's even worse because now they committed the crime. Like, already there, too, right? Like, that's why, by the way, the community is so, like, hard on do not talk about this, right? Isn't because they think, oh, no. The reason why is because they get bullied, too, for the same shit. And they're like, look, either you're with us or you're against us. And if you're against us, you can fuck off. But that's the other thing. That community will also be a massive shield from abusive asshats who try to harass members of the community. So like you've got like two things going there, right? You've got that they will like if you're on their side, they will defend you to kingdom fucking come. But they will also attack you. Like, they will also attack you and chase you the fuck off if you're against them. They're not really even gatekeeping. Like I said, you can't gatekeep a community, right? But what they are is saying, we're not fucking leaving. Right? And you are not, and you are going to have to accept that one way or another. We are not leaving. We are going to stay. If you try to sort this out, we will still be here long after you're gone. That's what they're saying. They are drawing their lines in the sand over this. And they will not change. So do not try to change them. They are not going to, and they have proven as such. That's why I'm like no. Like, I used to be an anti too, right? Like, I actually had a bit of a beef with like a couple of the people in this video, right? At one point. Now I changed my mind, right? I still say it gives me uncomfortable, right? I don't like this stuff, right? But I'm going to be honest, right? Like, yeah, like, why, like, you know, like, a good way to say it, right? Like, maybe it's partially, like, my heart hardened because, like, with the furry fandom, like, harassed me over shortly after. But, like, yeah, the furry fandom harassed me over some, like, petty drama, too. And then, like, but the thing is, right, the furry fandom didn't really have my back. A couple of the lolicons actually just like felt sorry for what happened and like, you know, talked to me and stuff, right? So now it's like, you know what that taught me? I was kind of vehemently against them at one point, and they still kind of had my back a bit when I needed something. The furries didn't, right? I needed help, they didn't help me. I was molested and brutally beaten for years, and they like called me all sorts of bullshit and harassed me and tried to get me to fuck off, right? I'm still in the fandom, by the way. I just needed like a bit of help getting like back on my feet. But yeah, a couple furries who were canceled and the lolicon fandom are the ones that fucking kept me alive. So maybe, you know what? Maybe I am kind of biased, but no, fuck this behavior. Like, stop, seriously. Like I said, they will defend you to Kingdom Come if they have to too. That's the best part about a community like this. If you're not actually doing anything wrong, they will defend you to Kingdom Come as long as you defend them back. They will be your sword and shield when you need them, as long as you don't try to bad name them and stuff, right? That's the lolicon community. I think you know what? I think you're jealous that they're the only community that does that anymore, and you should be. We need more communities like that. More communities that will be die hard. This is what I like, bitch. I am not harming anyone, and you need to go the fuck away from me. You know, like if you don't like me being here, I'm staying. We're staying. We're all staying. We outnumber you vastly. So either you can put up with us or leave. This is our bar. We took it over because we sat here and we said no, right? Because that's ultimately what it was. They're collectively saying no to cancel culture. If you try to cancel them, they just say, okay, no. And then it's done. No matter what you do, they said no. It's done. You lost, right? So stop trying to cancel for people for this shit. It's stupid. It's unproductive. And it just makes like your community even look bad. And I'm part of both of those communities. I'm not really part of the lolicon community, right? I'm not against it anymore. I used to be, like I said, I used to be an anti like you did. I stopped. And part of the reason was they were like nicer to me when I actually needed actual fucking help. But yeah.
I know that a lot of people gave up on speaking out about it because they've been bullied into silence. I still think it's important to stand up and talk about this. I think the issue is not enough.
I don't think most people are bullied into silence. I think most people just actually understood, like, yeah, these people will fight tooth and nail for and against anyone who attacks it. Like, they will fight for anyone who attacks one of their own, and they will fight against for anyone who's attacked, and against of their own, and against anyone who attacks one of their own. And they will fight tooth and nail all together. They have all the ships sail, right? Yeah. That's why like everyone's like, oh, like I said something wrong about lolicons, and there's a fucking army, right? That meme is basically because, yeah, they're brothers in arms, effectively, right? They like this thing, and they will not like this thing. And you have to put up with it, right? Now you can put up with it and not care, or you can put up with it and get her and like try to harass them off and lose. But those are the options. Of course they're ruthless. That's how they stay alive. Why wouldn't they be?
1 million impressions, and most of the people of these like big lolicon accounts being able to like ratio you, put you in your place, it can be really intimidating. I'm obviously not that big of a
Look, I'm just gonna be honest. It's not even really that like you have the opinions you do. It's that like you're trying to bully someone, and like the person you're trying to bully is also far larger than you, and has a far like tighter friend group than you. And you end up bullying a lot of your own audience too, because you can't bully them, so you bully your own like trans fans that are into lolicon, and it just makes you look like a fucking cunt. You know, like that's really what it comes down to. You're acting like a cunt. It's not that you don't like that the art makes you uncomfortable. It's that you are acting like a cunt about it. That's all you got to do is just stop being a cunt, and you'll be fine, right? Now, like the other thing is, right? Like, you know, like you, like instead of focusing on your image, right? Focus on uniting. Right, that's what the lolicons did. Notice how they don't care what what their image is. They care about being united and standing up for one another. They're doing what, like, so if you ever read The Art of War, right? They're doing the age-old tactic of If you treat your soldiers with the camaraderie of family, they will fight with you to the very end, right? I think is like the quote, which basically means, right, like that is the ultimate morale boost, right? You treat them like they are like someone you love, no matter what, and they will be there to fight for you, right? You can dislike that all you want, but that's what's going on. They are basically a family unit. You attack one, you attack them all, right? You've noticed that too, didn't you? Yeah, you attack one, they're all on your ass. They got a massive family. Welcome to the family, son. That's what it comes down to, right? Yeah, don't. Yeah, like it's not an okay thing to do either. But even if it was, like, it's not wise. But it's not okay to do, really, either, right? You're not making any points with this. You're not doing any real moral value judgment either. You're just being a cunt. And that's ultimately all it is. Just stop being a cunt, you know? I think, like, a good song that you need to listen to is, it's okay to not like things. It's okay, but don't be a dick about it. It's okay to not like things. Don't be a dick about the things you don't like. There's this song. I'll leave it off for today. I'll let you speak for the last 19 seconds. So I played the rest of you already, so I might as well let you.
Content creator, and I don't have like that big of a platform, but I do have some reach. And knowing that a lot of people like slid into my DMs being like, hey, you know, like, I support you, but I don't want to talk about this because like I've been harassed before. It really opened my eye to like how bad this actually is.
It's not. Look, just don't. That's all you got to do. Just let them be them, and you get to be you. But you don't want to do that, and that's the issue here. Anyway, see ya.